Welcome to today's press briefing. We have with us two speakers. They are from the Center for Health Protection, Dr. Albert Yao, TMHK Officer of Communicable Disease Branch, and also Dr. Sarah Ho, Chief Manager from Hospital Authority. The two doctors will give us information about the HA and update on number of cases. Dr. Ho. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We have 2,065 patients staying in hospitals. Of them, 219 are new cases. For those staying in isolation facilities, there are 477 patients in isolation wards, 167 in Tier 2 isolation wards, and 517 in Northland Town Infection Control Center, 213 in AWE COVID Treatment Center. 211 of them are new cases. Yesterday, we reported 9 cases in critical condition, 8 in serious condition, and of those in hospitals, 56 are in critical condition, 51 serious. Of them, 16 patients in critical conditions are receiving ICU care. Of that cases reported 23 new cases, 18 male and 5 female, aged between 4 and 98 years old. For those deceased, 17 have not completed their 3 doses of vaccination. There was one relatively young female 58-year-old patient. She had cancer with her that had metastasized to various organs. In her lungs and heart, there was some edema, and she was suffering from terminal cancer. And there was another patient, aged 75, a male. He had a bile duct inflammation, recursive. And then he tested positive by PCR on the 28th of August with a CT value of 22. The patient had received a repeated treatment on her bile duct problem. And then there was inflammation of his bile duct. His CT value by then was 35. So his death was mainly related to inflammation of his bile duct leading to ischemia. 314 patients have recovered. 270 of them have been discharged. 5 tested positive via admission screening. 5 patients in the same ward are classified as close contacts, and then 96 staff members are positive, and then 38 have returned to their posts. Thank you. I report to you the number of cases yesterday on the 17th of September. There was 7,190 new cases, 1,750 PCR positive, 5,440 RAT positive. 132 imported cases were noted. 124 of them were PCR positive, and another 8 RAT positive. We had another 23 cases of death yesterday, as reported by Dr. Ho. So far in the 5th wave, we have lost 9,678 lives. Among the 132 imported cases yesterday, 48 were picked up at the airport. Another 34 at quarantine hotels or centers. The remaining 49 were identified from samples in community testing centers. 47 of them were picked up between day 7, day 4 to day 7, and 3 after the 7th day. We've got 37 places importing cases to you. The UK, US, Thailand, and Indonesia imported more than 10 cases. The remaining 33 places imported 10 or less cases to Hong Kong yesterday. 5 care homes had new cases involving 3 RCGs, 4 residents there, and 2 care homes for the disabled with 2 residents positive. 69 residents are classified as close contacts requiring quarantine. In Kowloon City, On Lo, Wu Lo Yuen, 2 residents positive. In Tuen Mun, Ning Yen Wu Lo Yuen, 1 resident positive. Sha Tin, Sun Yen Wu Lo Zhong Sim, San Tien Wai, 1 resident positive. The remaining 2 homes for the disabled, 1 in Kwai Chung, Ming Ngoi Ging Hong Kui, 1 resident positive. Another one in Wong Chai Sin, Hong Kong 心理衛生會樂富宿舍, 1 resident positive. Today is a school holiday, so no new cases from schools. Yesterday, in the morning, we received some reports from some schools. Among them, 3 schools had clusters in individual classes. We advised that some classes be suspended, involving 3 schools, each with 1 class. 1 KG cum CCC, another primary school, and 1 special school. For sublineage, yesterday our public health laboratory had 81 of its samples positive to L452R, roughly the same as the figure of 82.1% the day before. Now for BA4 and 5 in L452R, BA5 accounts for 74.8% of the cases, BA4 6.2%, BA.2, 12.1, 4.7%. The remaining, BA 2.2, 14.3%. That ends my report. Ratification for cases of death, they are aged between 58 and 94. I open the floor to question. Please identify your media organization. Anyone from the floor? The lady at the back on the right. I'm from cable TV. Some experts suggested that quarantine arrangement be changed to a 0+7 and PCR pre-boarding PCR tests be abolished. Can our healthcare system cope with that? And we have seen a reduction in cases recently. Has some public healthcare services resumed? And then there is the suggestion that the duration between the 3rd and 4th jabs be reduced from 3 months to 4 months. 4 months to 3 months. Would that be too soon? Because originally the proposed duration was 6 months. Now, for testing and quarantine measures to prevent imported cases, now this is a matter of policy. We always attach significance to suggestions from experts. The Secretary for Health in an media interview yesterday set out in detail our plan. The government's direction is to enhance alignment with the international community as far as possible. The 3+4 quarantine arrangement has given us data for review, and we are proactively considering quarantine arrangements and the proposed 0.7 suggestion. As said by Professor Liu yesterday, these measures require a lot of preparation, such as the ability to cope at our airport, and that takes time. Regarding pre-boarding PCR tests 48 hours before boarding, well, we will consider that as well. Now, if we have more travelers to Hong Kong and if we abolish pre-boarding PCR test requirement, there will be more imported cases arriving in Hong Kong. Those who have just recovered or not yet fully recovered, previously they were not able to come back because they failed to get a negative PCR test, and some of them did not have any PCR test because they did not know that they were infected. We believe this new measure may increase the number of imported cases to Hong Kong. We'll see whether we have sufficient quarantine facilities in Hong Kong and isolation facilities in Hong Kong. Will conduct a risk analysis. And as for vaccination for the elderly, now Professor Hui is a member of the Joint Scientific Committees, which from time to time review the duration between jabs for different ages when it comes to vaccination. If need be, new proposals will be made.
For the HA, we already have a plan to redeploy our hospital beds. With the ups and downs in the number of COVID cases, we will redeploy our hospital beds. On the 23rd, we actually started Phase 3 of the hospital bed redeployment scheme. In Lantau and AWO, we have reserved 2,500 to 500 beds to admit COVID patients. With the development of the epidemic, we will maintain our flexibility. We will reserve some beds, human resources, and other resources to cope with, patients with different needs. Next, lady at the back, the gentleman at the back. AM 730, regarding imported cases, does the Secretary have any data that is on a daily basis at the airport and also for the arrivals during the first 3 days? How many % do they take up the number of imported cases? You said just now that if we scrap the PCR test requirement before boarding, have you make an assessment? That is, once you scrap that arrangement, how would that cause a surge in the number of confirmed cases? And for the number of imported cases, the number has been staying at a very low level. Do we still need this 8 to 10 requirement? In other words, so how long do we have to wait yet before we scrap the requirement for imported cases for testing? And Dr. Hui said that if the medical system could cope, then we can relax the restriction. Have you assessed under what conditions would you be satisfied that the medical system can cope? Thank you for the questions. Regarding the analysis of the imported cases, ever since we've launched the 3+4 arrangement, as far as testing is concerned, the numbers have varied. For the arrivals at the airport, they will need to have the samples taken at the airport and take the RAT and also be tested on day 4 and day 2, 4, and 6. We've analyzed the data, in detail. At the moment, many visitors would have already gone to our community on day 3. Only if they were tested positive later than that, we will look at the CT value. So sometimes it may not be imported cases. It could be that after they've left the quarantine hotel, once they return to the community, they become infected in the community. So we need to look at the data more carefully. The number of imported cases every day stays at a stable level. Over the past period of time, on average, we have about 150 cases every day. Of the 150 imported cases, they make up about less than 3% of the total number of arrivals to Hong Kong. And for these imported cases, they make up also a very small percentage of the number of confirmed cases in Hong Kong in total, ranging from 1.5 to 2%. Initially, we have seen that during the previous period of time, including the 7-day quarantine period and the 3+4 arrangement, I think the distribution is similar. Of course, we're looking at the global figure. What we are seeing now is that about 40% of the cases are detected or found positive at the airport, and roughly another 35% of the cases are confirmed in quarantine hotels. The remainder 5%, about 20% of which are tested positive on day 4 and 7, and less than 5% are tested positive on day 10. Why is it that the testing on day 8 to 10, they make up a smaller percentage of the cases because the transmission period for Omicron is rather short. So the majority of the cases, more than 95%, would have been tested during the first 7 days. From day 8 to day 10, we have found some, leftover cases or reinfection cases. Regarding the testing requirement before boarding, I think we need more data, and we need to assess this measure, how it would affect the number of imported inbound tourists. If we don't have such data, will there be more people coming to Hong Kong, and hence there will be more cases? So we need to consider all that in a global manner. Every day we announce different figures, including the number of confirmed patients, how many of them need to be hospitalized, and how many of the patients are staying at different medical facilities for treatment, and how many critical and serious cases are there. Other than looking at such figures, we would also look at our overall medical services, including the non-emergency services, day services, and GOPC services. We look at them globally. We understand that different patients have different needs that have to be taken care of. Next, the lady at the front. Good afternoon, I'm from Ming Pao. The Secretary said yesterday that we have to wait until service in public hospitals have resumed to up to 80%. So what is the percentage of service that you are now operating? And for the non-emergency hospital beds, can we go back to the 80% previous level? So could you explain how you work out that percentage? And also, before a visitor boards the plane, how many cases can you intercept which would otherwise go into our community? Also, regarding the road to recovery, does the government want to proceed with 0+7 requirement, or relax the requirement for inbound visitors to take the PCR test before boarding the plane? Regarding the PCR test before boarding, we now have the incoming tourists will need to have a negative PCR test 48 hours before boarding. But if they have been confirmed infected earlier, they don't need such a testing report. If they have proof from a medical organization, they can already return to Hong Kong. As to how many such patients have we intercepted, we don't know, because the people who are tested positive cannot board the plane. They have to wait until they have tested negative. So arrivals in Hong Kong would either have taken a PCR test and tested negative, and when they arrive at our airport, we discovered that every day about 60 cases of confirmed cases are found at the airport. These are newly infected cases or dormant cases. Your second question is about prevention of imported cases. I think the government, having looked at the data and having analyzed the data, recommends and then will come up with recommendations as to what needs to be done. The government direction is that we will want to enhance our, relink with the internet community, but we have to also look at how prepared we are and also the ability of our medical system to cope. As we all know, with the development of the epidemic, we have redeployed our resources and focused our resources to fight the epidemic. Some of the non-emergency services, the GOPC and so on, we've made some adjustments, and there have been some delay. But for emergency services, cancer treatment, all these will continue. For each hospital, so we need to not just look at a single hospital or the number of patients, but we need to look at it globally. With the epidemic gradually easing, we will maintain our flexibility and deploy our hospital beds to admit non-COVID patients and also to reopen some of our non-emergency services, booking for surgery operations and GLPC services and so on to take care of different patients.
Any other question? The reporter in the front. Good afternoon, independent media. I'd like to ask whether the administration will announce the 0+7 arrangement within this week. Will we relax social distancing measures locally? Now, places outside Hong Kong, if we are relaxing the requirements on inbound travelers and we are tightening social distancing measures here, will that be inconsistent? Regarding 0+7 arrangement, the administration and our colleagues of the Health Bureau in particular will announce in the first instance when there is a decision. And the second question is about local social distancing measures. The government will consider a basket of factors. The most important of all is the current epidemic situation, whether it is now under control and whether the number of cases are falling, and also the vaccination rate. These indicators can reflect the pressure on our local healthcare system. If caseload is dropping, then expected hospitalizations and critical cases will reduce, and that will relieve the burden on our healthcare system. Higher vaccination rate will ensure that there will be less serious cases and hence less need for hospitalization. This is positive to our healthcare system. So whether we can relax social distancing measures will depend on the epidemic situation and whether our healthcare system are able to cope without affecting regular non-urgent services, etc. By the Secretary for Health, whether we can resume normalcy in our healthcare system. Does Dr. Ho have anything to add? Nothing from me. All right, the lady on the right in white. I'm from Hong Kong 01. Now, the effective reproductive rate has recently dropped to below 0. Does that mean to below 1? Does that mean that our epidemic situation is easing? And you said that about 30% of the income cases, important cases, are picked up at the airport. And what if we further relax these measures? And yesterday, there were reports that someone were given expired vaccines. Have you received any reports of unwell for these cases? Now, our assessment is that the epidemic situation is steady and we haven't spotted any rebound. We had 7,190 local cases yesterday. Most of these cases were tested RAT positive on Thursday or PCR samples taken on Friday. We believe these cases reflected the situation preliminary after the Mid-Autumn Festival holiday. Now, if we take a longer horizon, in between the 2nd and the 8th of September, we had about 10,000 cases per day. The 7-day moving line peaked on the 8th of September. We had 10,090, and the 7-day figure keep falling down. Yesterday, it was 7,783. And that is in between the 9th and the 17th of September, we had about 7,700 odd. We expect some fluctuations from day to day. We'll closely monitor the situation to confirm whether the caseload has peaked and we may be in a plateau situation and hopefully a reduction in caseload. But may I appeal to the public, do not be complacent because of this improvement, because the number of cases is still high in the community. We should buy time and also get vaccinated as soon as possible so that we work together to enhance our defense against the virus, and then we can improve our immunity and we can be in a better position to resume normalcy. As for the 0+7 quarantine arrangement, the government is discussing this internally with some measures for inbound travelers. After they have left their quarantine hotels, they will carry an amber code, and they will be barred from scheduled premises and restaurants and catering premises where they may remove their masks and heighten the risk. We have reviewed recent situation. The law enforcement agencies, including the FUHD and the police, have inspected catering premises. They did not see anyone with an amber code eating there. Some people with an amber code became positive afterwards, and they had a red code. So among the amber code persons, we haven't seen any imported cases. We believe this is a targeted measure to stop people from going into high-risk premises and spread the disease. Now, there were 45 reported cases to us of expired vaccines being injected into them. We've followed up on these cases. So far, we have not received any adverse cases. Anyone who would like to ask questions, the press briefing ends here. Thank you very much.